breakfast puppies?
This podcast contains adult language and content and is meant for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Okay, man. Roll a saving throw versus listening to the Glitterbois. Righteous. All right. Cool.
We're bringing the discussion back again to, rules and house rules. This one's a hot button topic that always gets a lot of heated discussion when brought up in any Palladium or Rift Space forums. And that is perception roles. Love them or hate them, they're part of the system since 1995.
I don't understand what the problem is. Like it's really simple. It seems workable.
So, what a perception role by the common understanding of a perception check is rolling a die to see if you notice something.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is ultimately rooted in a conflict in gaming philosophy. That the crux of this conflict is old school gamers did not grow up with perception roles. Perception wasn't a skill or an ability in many older games. Instead, the players were expected to describe how their characters were interacting with the world, and then the GM would likewise tell them what they discover based upon how they describe their interaction. One did not roll to find the hidden compartment in the chest.
Oh, it's a stylistic problem.
Yeah, so much as the player would be expected to say they check the bottom for a hidden area kind of thing. Now, there were some exceptions, and those being elves and dwarves specifically had, at least in old school D&D, this sort of supernatural or preternatural, maybe might be the right word, sense to find those things without even having to look for them. And that's when they rolled. But otherwise, it was a player skill situation.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense to me since you put it like that. Because I think I do both. I always over-describe what my character is doing and ask questions, but I would, I check and then you roll.
Yeah.
But I don't see why this is a thing still, though.
Well, so I mentioned it's a conflict of two different approaches. That other approach being Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition spot checks.
Oh.
Now, perception existed in games before Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition, of course. But D&D 3rd edition revolutionized the gaming industry. Every gamer today who plays tabletop games has had their experience, even if they don't understand it or don't recognize it, changed by the existence of 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons. One of those big changes was this concept of the spot check or the search roll, where instead of describing how they interacted with the scene, players were given this ability to just, all right, cool, I'm going to walk in there, I'm going to roll a spot check, tell me what I see.
Right.
Oh yeah, cool, great. I'm going to look the room, roll my search. Here, I get a 15. What do I find? That is the polar opposite of the previous version. So perception checks are a source of much argument.
Okay, I could see some of that, but I could also see the DM saying, yeah, well, I mean, how do you search the room? Because like it's not this isn't a yard sale. It's not all out on tables. There's wreckage from the ceiling. Like, do you poke in the wreckage? Well, shit. Now we're rolling for initiative because something was hiding under that. I mean, there's a lot of ways to bring, because I think what you're describing is the larger issue between the power metagamer and the like ambiance deep immersion player. one who's playing the numbers and one who is playing the drama. One is who's getting into character. And I think there are ways to bring one to the other.
This argument or this conflict transcends tabletop gaming. Let's bring it to video gaming. The equivalent would be Baldur's Gate or any kind of older or an isometric RPG, right? Where you're moving a character through and you come into a room and the shadows open up and you see what's around you. Do you A, take your mouse and start to move it around all of the things that look interesting until something highlights as searching the room? Or do you B, hold down the Alt button, which automatically outlines everything that can be highlighted, and then just click on that?
No, because I bought mine at Goodwill and it didn't come with the manual and I didn't know you could do that.
Well, not every game lets you do that, but it's I don't even know if Baldur's Gate lets you do that, but I just know that Fallout, the original Fallout, you had to pixel hunt. You had to move your mouse around until something was outlined or a little thing popped up. Whereas other mini games today now or just let you hold down Tab or Alt and it highlights everything that you can click on, move on to the rest that's more interesting. So it's this, do you want to be immersed or do you want to roll some dice kind of thing?
I think Baldur's Gate is too modern for mine. Like my methods were done in Zork. It's like you are being eaten by a grue. Fight, grue. You can't see a grue here. Turn around. You have been eaten by a grue. Fuck.
Yeah. I am familiar with the terror of Zork. There's that tension that comes from not having a picture on the screen. Anyway, but just a step up from Zork, we have games like King's Quest or the point and click adventure games. And part of the gameplay of those games back in the day is what now was referred to as pixel hunting, where you move the mouse slowly, as if you're combing the desert kind of thing, looking for something to pop up. Some games today still do that. And there are others that introduce, quality of life improvements that make it easier to find those things, such as they might be highlighted in a different color, or they might have a little more detail or a little bit of a contrast. Whereas in some of the older games, you had no fucking clue that thing was there until you happened to point at it.
I was just thinking of Myst, honestly.
Yeah.
God.
So that is the same argument. The conflict between, do I want to experience the world or do I want to play the game?
Okay, well, when put like that, it makes it real difficult because the only actual cure is to find a like-minded group. Like, like you can't.
Yeah.
Like you can bring someone around a little bit, but you can't. Yeah.
To clarify, I'm not here to answer that question. We're not here to discuss it. That is an argument that will never be resolved. It will go on until the end of time, until somehow somebody reaches a special kind of crossover. Which leads me to page 66 of the Nightbane role-playing game, the introduction of perception rules in Palladium games. Now, some folks on the internet like to mistakenly claim that Beyond the Supernatural 2nd Edition introduced perception rules. This is wrong. Beyond the Supernatural came out 10 goddamn years later, and it wasn't in 1st edition. Well, at least wasn't in the core book, which I have. This was my first exposure to it, was page 66 of Nightbane. And I, as a player who is of the former camp and a GM who dies a little inside every single time a player asks if they can just roll a spot check, I like Palladium's perception rolls.
Agreed.
With a caveat.
What's yours?
The caveat is throw out the paragraphs entirely. You don't need them. Just
need the chart.
Use the table. Because my perception of the situation, perception rolls are meant to function as a saving throw. They are meant to be save versus missed information.
Yeah. You know, that would be an excellent way to put it, too, in an old saving throw. Tie it to intelligence and wisdom.
Yeah. Right.
Or mental and... God damn it. I'm doing it, too. I can't help it. It just does it. It just does it. Yeah. M-A-N-M-E.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
but yeah.
So the way it's presented here in Nightbane is, it gives you roll a d20 and you add a very simple modifier based on your based on your IQ. And some character OCCs get innate bonuses, but all characters, regardless of OCCs, get a +1 to perception at levels 3, 9, and 15. Sounds great. Easy perception roll. Got to get a 4 or higher. Moderate, you get an 8 or higher. Challenging is the 17 or higher, and difficult is challenging is a 14 higher. Difficult is a 17 or higher. And that's exactly where it should end. Just end it right there.
You don't like the prowl, detect, ambush, concealment?
No, because those skills should automatically consider such things before you roll them. You don't roll. Prowl is not an opposed skill. Most of Palladium's skills are not opposed. They are skill checks. You roll against your ability to see if you do a thing. If the GM thinks that there are things working against you, such as a guard who might be watching, then that's already factored into your roll. He gives you a modifier to the roll. There's no need to bring in an opposed roll here. Prowl is its own thing. No.
Yeah, it does. Here's where it gets a little clunky. When a perception roll is attempted against a skill roll, treat it as a combat roll. Both characters, the person using the skill and the one using a perception roll a d20 and the higher roll wins. To quickly convert a skill percentage, divide the skill total by... I'm lost. I'm already gone. Like, my ADHD brain has already checked out.
Yeah, checked out. Nope, done. Don't want it, don't need it, ignore it, throw it out. That's it. You know what? I said throw out both of the paragraphs. No. Throw out the first and the last paragraph. The second one gives you the bonuses. That's pretty good.
Here's the thing. I would change it a little.
Yeah.
Just slightly. Like, just if I was doing it myself.
How would you change it?
There are things in Palladium, and not just monsters, not just opposing guards. There are things that are conceptual, ethereal evils from beyond the ken of man. And I don't think that a D20 covers it. I would change it to the percentile dice. That is, I would make it a D100 roll and make it a bigger table.
Well, hold on. What about saving throws then? Would you use a D20 to save against the insanity of such a thing? Because there's a save versus insanity already there. Would you use a D20 to save versus the psionic power of one of those things? Or would you convert those as well?
Doing it myself, like if I was designing my own game, I wouldn't use a whole lot that wasn't percentile.
Yeah.
Like I love the breadth of it, and I love big ass tables. And the percentiles give you more chances for more tables. More things to happen.
There is a school of thought in game design that would, very strongly, and I must add, succinctly and valid, argues that percentile rolls are the perfect mechanic based upon the fact that from a game design perspective, you have the scope of everything right there. The high end and the low end. Whereas with, open-ended rolls of D20s that just have infinite bonuses added upon them, you never know. But with a percentile roll, you always know it's going to be between 1 and 100. Always. You can't go higher than 100 because there's nothing more than 100%. Nothing can be 105%. That makes no mathematical sense. Yeah.
It's like if you are a god of hiding, you get a 99.
Yeah.
Like if that is your pantheon, and it's, or if that is your special skill. If you are the drunk sneaking into the house, you are getting, something a lot less. But there's this whole, I just don't think a D20 covers it.
Yeah.
I think a D20 is put on because rolling a nat 20 means you get it.
Well, I think a D20 is put on it because I feel like whoever put this here, it could have been Kevin or it could have been CJ who wrote Nightbane, meant for it to be a saving throw, meant for it to be not necessarily a search check, but or a spot thing. I think they meant for it to be a save versus missed information. It's not supposed to override the player describing their search or whatever. I could be wrong, but this is just how I like to use it in a game.
In Rifts, and I'm looking at the Ultimate Edition here.
Yeah.
There is a little bit more, basically perceiving supernatural involvement.
Mm-hmm.
It starts on page 368. You can look in the Butts edition like I did, and you will find jack shit.
Yeah, it's not
because
there.
It just doesn't exist.
Yep, Nightbane, 1995, folks.
Yeah. I think it's important in that because it has dog boys, size stalkers, things that are literally searchers that should have a greater chance to sense supernatural.
They already have that power.
I know, but here's the thing. I do like the diametrically opposed rolls. I actually do. So it's not just a saving throw. I think it's fun for a player to roll against the DM or the GM. I do enjoy that.
Yes. And that Palladium does in spades with combat.
Absolutely.
I love it. Here's where it fails with perception. You're rolling against someone's prowl. Okay. Let me walk this back a little bit. There's a mechanic that I've seen a lot in games that I really dislike when I see it. I don't like it. I think it's lazy design. I think they wrote it because they couldn't think of anything else to do better. Or more likely because the rest of the system that they wrote, which is, elegant and noble, unfortunately, in this one instance, shoehorned them into a certain approach to opposed checks. And that is, when you are running a game, when you are designing a game where, like Palladium, like Warhammer, where your roll is against a number that's already on your character sheet, and you can fail that. You can pass and you can fail. So you've already got on your sheet, determined by your own abilities, a pass-fail number. That's a binary outcome.
Yeah.
However, when you turn that into an opposed roll, you would expect, say, instead of it being a pass-fail, you would expect the effort of the resistor is applied to the effort of the aggressor. However, when both sides are rolling 100% on their sheet pass-fail checks, you create this situation where both sides can fail. Okay, well, I succeed at my prowl check. Now, great, roll against that. So I'm going to roll against my perception roll. All right, cool. Well, I succeed at my perception roll, but I succeed on my prowl check, but I succeed on my perception roll. Okay, well, we both succeeded. Well, what the fuck? Or I succeeded. I failed at my prowl roll. Well, then I guess you don't need to read, but it invalidates the need to do certain things. Pass fail A versus pass fail B, I don't really like. I think what should happen is a more fluid mechanic is to take the effort of B and apply it to A and just have A roll.
Well, you see, if it happened with percentiles, you could just say that. I have a 50%, and I'm wearing my sneaky stockings, and I turned off the lights before I came in, and all of those give me a plus 10, so that's 70. And your perception, I see you have a 40 there, but you are wearing your glasses. That gives you 10, but that's only 60, so I'm afraid there's no roll.
The reason it works in Palladium combat is because defensive rolls are not a pass-fail.
That's true.
They simply set the target number.
And that's the same with just hits too. Like it's ridiculously easy to shoot someone in Palladium.
Yeah.
It's like on a D20, it's what, a 5?
Yeah.
I'm not even going to look. I'm just going to wave my gun off that way.
It's a
I'll
4.
get him. Don't worry.
I believe it's a 4 or higher will hit.
Yeah.
And I like that, because what that means is if you take a weapon and use it at someone with intent to harm, provided they do nothing, you're going to hurt them unless you just suck that much. You're not going to stand there face to face and just whiff.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a 50% chance base to fail.
And that's one thing I always hated about 3.5 and 3's version of Spot is that it's 10 out of a 20.
I hate that. I hate it.
Yeah. That's a 50% chance of not knowing your own shoelace is untied.
I hate
like, look down.
the base 50% chance. I hate it so much. Like, I feel that if somebody sets out to do something, I can rant about that for hours. Anyway, let's get back to perception rules.
No, wait. Let's set up an episode where we just pitch about Wizards of the Coast. It's a popular thing right now. We'll be topical. It'll be great. And come on. It'll age well too, because they will always be fucking up.
That's okay. There's a seed of beauty in what you just said. And it takes me back to my college days where I lived at, but was not a member of, a fraternity house. And one of the things that they had for their house meetings, which were not the same as their brothers' meetings, but they had a house meeting every day for the residents. And at the house meeting, every week, people would go around and they did what they called bitches and roses, where you complained about a thing and you praised the thing, and it was quick. What's your bitch? Okay. This is my bitch. This is my rose. Next. No details. Just air your grievance, air your praise, and move on, kind of thing. We should have an episode of bitching, and we should have an episode of rosing.
Yeah, let's definitely keep those separate, because I'm gonna dive in on my bitching.
Oh man. Yeah.
Perceptions. This was about perceptions, right?
Yeah, it was. It was.
I think this is a good way to do it. I honestly do. I agree that it should stop, but here's the thing. You will come across so much in any version of Palladium's game that can rip the fuck out of you. Like that you are, oh shit, I am in the wrong place at the wrong time. I thought I was 7 feet tall, covered with hair and invincible, but I am about to be had on all fronts. Like there are impossibly deadly things that you will brush up against, and it should be easy to note them.
Matthew, my good friend, kind sir, my fellow co-host, if you would look on that very same page in the bottom right corner, there's a thing that already does
factor.
This.
Yeah.
Palladium's got you covered,
as I said it. Yeah. Well, it always does. That's the thing about Palladium, is like there's a lot more thought that goes into it. I honestly think that it is a good thing for these things to be easily done. Unless you are literally a ninja with a skill that says, "What are you doing? I'm ninjaing." Add 10 to the roll. Then it's just not happening. You're probably in armor, maybe not in Nightbane, but definitely in Rifts. You are probably in armor. You may be a giant robot. If you are attempting to prowl, that's your fault, and you should know better.
And it should automatically is the wrong word. It should already have been factored into the modifiers that the GM gave you before you rolled your proud check.
Yeah.
Perception, I don't care what the guards perceive. I'm going to give you a minus 5% because they're, there's a guard there, but he's not really paying much attention to anything. So it's only going to be a minus 5. However, if it was like, okay, you're trying to do your ninja shit, unfortunately, you know that the captain of the rival ninja clan is personally looking for you. that's going to have a stronger penalty to your roll. I'm not going to roll for that guy.
Or even the physical constraints. Like there's physical constraints that people attempt to roll around, and that fucking makes me buggy. Like, let's say you're in a narrow corridor, right? 5 feet wide and maybe 7 feet tall, right? Just a normal corridor going from one place to another, underground in a chasm.
Mm-hmm.
A guardsman in armor is wandering down it to check it. 5 feet wide and 7 feet tall. He has a torch. Where the fuck do you hide? The ninja says, well, I hide on the ceiling. Okay. As you go by, the torch ignites your clothes. Like you can't. One thing I think that we were talking about at the very beginning that I loathe is that using a roll in case of any kind of common sense. It's like, you can't do that. Retreat around a corner, find someone else. There is nowhere to hide here. This is what you are trying to do. Unless that guard has a cell phone and he's staring down into it like someone crossing a street, you will be spotted. There's no way around that. There is not room for a humanoid to hide from a humanoid in that. Put your dice away.
Yeah, unless we cross into the realms of psionic and magic and supernatural powers, then yeah.
But even there, like, you can't get past him. He's too wide.
I'm back here in a choir robe. As you're talking, I'm raising my hand. I'm like, preach on, Brother Matthew, preach on. I agree. That is a greater topic for discussion, but I'm going to follow this tangent. It's oftentimes, again, rooted in what I claim, and I could be wrong about, being the third edition D&D mentality of, well, it's a mechanic on my sheet, I'm going to use it, and I get to do it. All right, cool, we move on. Well, I have a +5 to bluff, so I'm going to bluff the guard and do whatever. Or I've got a +10 to persuade, so I'm going to persuade them to get out of the way. But that doesn't consider extenuating circumstances. No,
Absolutely.
No, not even that. The most egregious uses of this are with things like social roles and hiding, particularly. They think, well, I have a hide roll, so I'm going to roll it. Okay, you've got a 20-point penalty on this. There's no way you can succeed unless I crit, right? No, wrong. There's sometimes that you should not even be allowed to roll, and the GM needs to grow a pair of whatever bulbous things are on their body. Or
in their body,
or
huge
bulbous,
swinging ovaries.
Yeah, totally. But or on, in, around, in the vicinity of their body, grow a pair of those things and tell that player, fuck no, and laugh at them. Laugh and say, no, you cannot bluff this guard. You cannot persuade this guard to look the other way as you go in, because this guard specifically has no fucking reason to trust you. You have no leverage
not only
on
that,
him.
but like, you'll see this asinine behavior out of players and then tried to pull the bluff. Like, you just stabbed his partner. He watched you. Do you think he's going to believe you? Oh no, that's cool. No, I'll allow you to roll.
Well, that guy was a dick anyway.
Yeah, with a negative 95%. But yeah, you can roll if it makes you feel better, buddy. And you know what? I do believe in the magic, though. I do believe in the magic of the 20, because that, having experienced it every now and then when it was truly necessary, last-ditch effort, battered, armor strung all over, the barbarian limps forward, his axe is too far, but he has his boot knife and he flings it at the eldritch. Oh my fuck, I rolled a 20.
So that's combat. That's where it should be. Yeah.
Agreed. But I do think that kind of heroic thing has a place. And we have to remember, especially in Palladium, that there are so many non-combat roles.
Yeah.
Where there are so many non-combat player types that are built around knowledge and diplomacy and entertainment or repair and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So there is a part of me that says maybe.
Well,
because they get their chance for glory too, right?
Yes, they do. But Palladium is also a system, worlds, where there are people who have access to this little special something called motherfucking magic. And that's when you do that. Like,
agreed.
You, no matter how good you are at persuading people to do things, there are just simply certain things you cannot persuade people to do. If something goes so strongly against their moral character, or if they have no reason to do anything that you're trying to get them to do, you just can't get them to do that. You don't get to roll. That's where magic and psionics override the situation.
You know, you keep bringing it back to 3 and 3.5, and I'd like to say that I love 3.5. You can't see it here, but I have like 30 books.
I've seen them
here.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it has to be done with, as you said, with a capable GM who is capable of going, no. No. And it did very much build that kind of metagaming character, and we're all suffering the fallout. And we will not speak of 4, and I barely like to speak of 5, but it's just, I don't like that kind of gaming. I don't like that kind of player, and I will actively chase them out of my circle if I find them. If I can't bring them around, I don't. It's just not enjoyable for me. It's angry algebra.
I want to note something you just said there, which is very important, and which is why I like you as a human. And it was that statement of, if I can't bring them around. Because I know truly that none of them are truly irredeemable, at least at first. There are times you can change someone from their ways. I was at some point in the mid-aughts, I was a diehard 3rd edition fan. I did everything in 3rd edition because it was my one game to rule them all. But somebody did me a solid in ways that I hated. I resisted so much their persuasion to get me to start playing small press indie games. And it changed my mind. And I am thankful that that happened, because now, 15 plus years later, I realize how awful the 3rd edition system was and how damaging it was to the mentality of a lot of players. And that's where we're coming back around to the concept of, if it's on my sheet, I can use it at any time, which is what 3rd edition didn't invent.
Enshrined. Yeah.
It didn't invent it, but it enshrined it. Perception, which is, remember perception? This is an episode about perception. And Alice in her restaurant. This. Oh God. How did we get there?
I know we're straying, dude, but these are some of my favorite episodes. So screw it. It's good though. Like, I think it's hard to pull off, because it's not just, there are things as a GM that the players do not know, and that are necessary for the game mechanic, that are necessary not only for that, but for the shared experience that you're trying to build. Like, you need that moment of shock. You need that moment of surprise. You should never let that go because of someone has something written on their character sheet. And if that person cannot be persuaded that this is for the benefit of everything and the story, like, we're not going to kill you. It's cool. Well, we might kill you, but I mean, this is how this goes. This is how this story goes. This is heroic fantasy. If you're looking to balance tables, become an actuary. That's not fun.
Yeah. Well. Perception. My final thoughts on perception. My final statements.
Go. What do you got?
My final statements are, Palladium is an old school game. It is written with old school mentalities and old school rules. And it hasn't changed much in 30 something years. Palladium's approach to things is, believe it or not, minimal rules.
Mm-hmm.
Some say that it's very crunchy. It is not. There are minimal rules for everything in this. There's a shitload of modifiers,
Mm-hmm.
but there's minimal rules, minimal base systems. And because of that, I think you should take that same approach of minimal rules, let the role playing build the world around you when it comes to perception. Let your players describe what they're doing. Tell them what they see based upon how they describe it, and take into account whether or not one of them is an elf. And you give them more information. Based upon their descriptions of things, describe the world back to them. And if they miss something, if they're low through the room and, you had a special bit of information there, or there was a hidden item or some kind of a rare thing that they could have come across, but they specifically didn't interact with where that thing was located, as they're leaving the room, that's when you roll the perception save. They might have noticed this on their way out as an, oh, hey, kind of thing. That's my take on perception rolls and how they should be used. Over to you, Matthew.
I saw a thing once, and this isn't about Palladium specifically, but it was just that things like that, and I believe it was you who talked to me about it too, is that's in the GM's province. You write that down on a sheet of paper with your hit points and your AC in old school, and you give that to the GM. You're not rolling it. If there's something in the room that's hidden and you have described it, the GM rolls it for you.
Yeah. Or if there's something hidden inside a little statue on the table,
mm-hmm.
If you specifically say, I go check out that statue, well, I'm going to tell you it's there because I see your character is now interacting with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
You notice a tiny mold line on the bottom that seems slightly out of place.
Yeah.
Do you start poking at it with a knife? It turns out it's a screw. That's your perception. It's not, I walk into the room and I roll, what do I get? Okay, on to the next room. No, screw you, dude. You get nothing.
Actually, think of it like an adventure game, like one of those point and click things. When a player hunts that pixel, you give them that pixel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be a quick one. I'm glad it's not, because I think we've covered this, but I think there's something we also missed. What do you think solidly of Palladiums besides the cutout? Like, what do you think of the perception as Palladiums?
I like everything except for the opposed part of it.
Okay.
This is how I prefer to do it. I just use that table. It's very simple. 4 target numbers. That's it. It's a saving throw, I like it.
I like it too. I think just assigning the difficulty, and it's 4-part, which I think like the modern version of D&D sucks with its advantage, disadvantage. Like I like a little more chance to it, but I like the easy, moderate, challenging, and then just difficult.
Yeah.
And I don't think anything should ever be impossible. There always needs to be the slimmest chance.
Again, some things.
Assuming the topography of the situation merits it. Once again, the guard walking down the tiny hall.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. I'm with you.
So,
yep. Huzzah, we agree.
Okay. Well, that was Perception, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts on Perception, please feel free to leave them for us in our Discord. NPC checks in a lot more, but I've been being better, and I might even see it myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can join us on that. You can buy us a coffee on Coffee. And what else do we have going on? We have a store with our swag.
Yeah, Redbubble with all of our sweet logo. You can get it on your chest or your face or anywhere you want it.
You could get it anywhere you want.
Yeah. I mean,
do not post those pictures on Discord. Thank you very much.
I need to make a note to make some pictures. It's sad that I don't have any.
We do have that like blanket thing. We do like a Venus de Milo.
I mean, we could. I wonder. Getting
Should we do a
ideas.
contest? We should do a contest. I will send someone a signed Riffs book to the winner.
I'll send a pizza roll. I don't know.
I'll send a pizza roll. Okay, well, this has been 41 and a half minutes of madness.
Something like
so
that.
I'm going to say thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.
And you can get anything you want in Palladium's RPGs.
It's true.
Starships, magic, mystic martial arts, romance. All of these can be found in A Cloak of Blades by Isaac Scher. You might have heard my name before. I've done a lot of voiceover work for Breakfast Puppies, and I've recently released my first novel. It's available on Amazon as an ebook and paperback, and you can get it for free if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription. I do hope you'll support my work as you're supporting Breakfast Puppies, and it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Have a good one.
You've been listening to The Glitterbois, a Palladium Books fan podcast. Glitterbois, Rifts, the Megaverse, and all other such topics are the property of Kevin Siembieda and Palladium Books. Please buy all their stuff and help keep them in print and making more games. You can order directly at palladiumbooks.com, and their entire catalog is available digitally at Drive-Thru RPG as well. Our opening music is 8-Bit Bass and Lead by Furby Guy from freesound.org. This closing music is Caravana by Philip Gross, available at freemusicarchive.org. All sound effects used are self-made or acquired via Creative Commons Zero license. If you like what you have heard, find us on Twitter and Facebook as The Glitterbois. That's BOIS. And check us out online at breakfastpuppies.com/glitterbois. And also join us on the Breakfast Puppies Network Discord at breakfastpuppies.com/discord. And if you want to help us out, please spread the word and help us build a community. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you next time.